$2.2 billion. That's how much the photo-sharing app Snapchat lost in the first quarter of this year. Many of its pioneering features have already been cloned by bigger rivals. So does this matter to us, the consumers? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the programme. I'm Martine Dennis. Now, Snapchat is life. Now, that's a phrase we heard from some of the young producers in this building earlier today. They say that they live by this phone app that lets people share pictures or videos for around 10 seconds before they disappear forever. But while the app is still quite popular among many young people, it seems to have lost traction as well as money. Its parent company, Snap Inc., reported a huge loss and slowing growth on Wednesday. It's the first earnings report released since the company went public in March. And much of its poor showing has been blamed on competition from Facebook. The social media giant has added features that are very similar to Snapchat to three of its platforms, Instagram, WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger. And some say that's what's taken away Snapchat's edge. Well, fierce competition in the tech industry is everywhere, and we've repeatedly seen that competition result in one or two giant survivors. Like when Facebook first came on the scene, it quickly overtook MySpace, which had been a market leader. Google has squashed competition from Bing and Yahoo, and BlackBerry, which dominated the early years of the smartphone, only to be decimated by the entry of Apple's iPhone and devices powered by Google's Android. So what makes one tech company succeed while others fail? Let's hear from our guests now. In London, we have Jasper Lawler, Senior Market Analyst for the London Capital Group, who specialises in the tech sector. Joining us on Skype from Malmö in Sweden is Aral, Balkan, a cyborg rights activist tracking digital media. Also in London, we have Nishanth Sastry, Senior Lecturer in Informatics at King's College London. Welcome to you all. Aral, can I start with you and just ask you about this poor showing by Snapchat? Is it a wobble or is it an indication of its eventual demise?
Would it be terrible if I said I really couldn't care? And here's why. Let me qualify that. You said that people in your own building were saying that they couldn't live without Snapchat and that it's a means for them to share their day, videos and photos that then disappear forever. Well, have they stopped to ask themselves how Snap makes money? Because it's free, they're not paying for it. And if they did ask that, they would probably reach the conclusion that it makes money by tracking what they do, by learning more about them, and then selling that information to their actual customers, who are the companies that will pay them for this insight, for the right to advertise or to reach and manipulate and exploit these people. So it really doesn't concern me whether one of these platform monopolies goes out of business or not. I think we should be questioning their whole business model to begin with.
All right, Aral, that's a much bigger point. Let's go to Jasper then. And Jasper, whether you like it or not, is it an indication that perhaps expectations were too high for this relative newcomer onto the scene?
I think it's completely fair to say that expectations were sky high. This stock has been priced to perfection. And so these numbers are actually quite good. They tripled the revenues over last year. User growth is still growing, albeit at a slightly slower pace, but even a slight disappointment like that sees a big tumble in the share price because those expectations are so lofty. I am on the cautious side when it comes to Snapchat for the kind of reasons that you're already talking about. The fact that some of the bigger players like Facebook particularly are incorporating some of their most popular features into Snap, into their own applications like Instagram and WhatsApp. And so they already have the market share, they already have the influence, the firepower to invest in these features. Snapchat's still trying to grow, so it's going to be a difficult future, but I think it's probably still a little bit early to say this is game over for them. I heard an interesting quote from the CEO of Snapchat, saying that, well, Yahoo do search, but they're not Google. So Facebook are doing some of the Snapchat features, they're not Snap. So I think that's a good quote, and it suggests that he believes that Snap can carry on and become one of these big players, which is what investors want to see too.
All right, and Nishanth, coming to you, I'm just wondering what this tells us about the tech landscape at the moment, because it does seem that time and time again the big five basically swallow up the opposition.
Yeah, so what we are seeing is effects of the network economy. Now, just Facebook by itself is no use if I'm the only user on Facebook. Google by itself is no use if I'm the only user of Google. And the users make the company. And so I guess the company with the biggest network wins over in the end. And that's, I guess, going to be a big problem for small players such as Snapchat. And where they come in and where they can come in and disrupt is if the big companies take their eyes off the ball and then something novel, something they had not anticipated comes out, and then the users suddenly flock from the big platforms to the new platforms, as we saw happening before with MySpace disappearing, with Friendster disappearing, and Facebook coming on and Twitter coming on in their place. So there's possibilities for disruptions, but the big giants, the hyper giants, will always be at a major advantage because of their huge user base and because of the networks, and it's the network that makes the company.
All right, okay, understood. Aral, coming back to you, you've already brought up the issue of this almost dependency that so many of us are now forming for social media. So why should we care that Snapchat isn't doing too well, might fall, could revive itself if it comes up with greater innovation? Why should we care, particularly you, who you're not at all enamoured, are you, of Snapchat?
No, I'm not. And again, I would reiterate that we shouldn't care. When a company like Snap or when a company like Facebook improves its products, it's like the massages we give to Kobe beef. It's not for the benefit of the cow. It's to make the cow a better product. So in this analogy, we're the cow. I think what we should be asking is what alternatives to Snap and Facebook and Google, all of these companies that make money the same way by tracking us, through surveillance, by tracking us, by learning as much about us as possible, analyzing our behavior and then exploiting that. What true alternatives can we have to that? Not what is the next smaller version of this that might become, the next big platform monopoly, but what true alternatives can we have? Can we have ethical businesses? Can we have ethical technology companies that don't make money by tracking people, who maybe have people, not users? Remember that there are only two industries that use the term user to talk about the people that use their products. One is technology and the other are drug dealers.
Okay, and on that note, Jasper, coming to you, Aral's already alluded to the fact that it is the big bucks that are at stake here. I mean, I've got a figure here of $36 billion in potential advertising revenue is at stake just for this year, 2017.
I for one, very much support what Aral's saying in terms of, this is the way these companies make their business is through tracking people, and that's what gives them the edge in terms of what to advertise to them. I'm not necessarily a fan of that. I guess the older generation you are, the more keen you are on your privacy. What I tend to do in my job is follow markets. And I believe in a kind of market-based system because that's people choosing what they want. And I think what the market is telling us at the moment is that people have a choice at the moment. They could pay, for example, maybe not social networks, but say email. You can pay for an email service where it won't be tracked by anybody. You pay $10 a month for your email and it's all safely in an inbox, no one's watching it. Or you can get it for free from Google, Yahoo, or the rest of them. The overwhelming consensus is that people would like it for free. So they have the choice of paying for it being secure, or they have the free alternative where they're going to be tracked. People are just taking the option of being tracked. Maybe there's an educational issue that people don't know what that means for them. And that I certainly can agree with, but at the moment the marketplace is choosing these kind of companies that make their money this way.
All right.
If people acted differently, if people chose different kinds of products,
Jasper, yes, I do indeed, and I want to throw that back to Aral because he's shaking his head quite vigorously. He's clearly disagreeing with you, Aral.
I would agree with Jasper that people should have a choice. I disagree that they do truly have a choice today. And to understand why, look at how much investment is going into surveillance-based technologies. All of the venture capital is going into this. This is the mainstream business model. And then every now and then you have a tiny little company that's trying to make it by actually selling a product, not selling people. But it's not a fair playing field. I mean, markets do not guarantee welfare, and they do not guarantee justice. You know, equality of the sexes didn't come out of the markets, right? Slavery was something that was actually shown as a case study for laissez-faire capitalism back in the day, you know. So markets don't necessarily result in justice or a fair system.
Absolutely.
There are times... Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's go to Nishanth then. And the ethical question is always with us whenever we're talking about the issue of social media. But the fact is we are increasingly spending time online. Some people spending up to something that amounts to like 7 years of their lifetime online on social media platforms. So this is something that we have to address, don't we? And we have to address it outside of just the money-making aspect.
Well, that's true. But then I would also ask, is this just waste of time, or is that more of a connection that they're finding? And one of the things that the online platforms have enabled is ways to make connections that are beyond the geographic boundary. So if I have friends, let's say in the States or somewhere else, here in London, I can communicate with them instantly through things like WhatsApp or Skype or even on Facebook. And so there's the positive aspects as well as the more addictive aspects. And you're absolutely right. There's the more we get involved in things like Facebook, and the more engaged we become, the more time we spend, and we might end up getting addicted to these, and that's going to be a huge problem that we need to contend with.
Indeed, but Jasper, it does address a basic, fundamental human need, and that is to connect with a peer group and beyond. And with our globalised world today, the fact, as Nishanth pointed out, the fact that you can connect with friends and family outside of your immediate vicinity is something quite remarkable, isn't it, that we should be enjoying at this time?
Absolutely, and like everything, I think it's a question of balance. When you walk along the park and you see two clear friends sitting next to each other, looking on their phones, communicating with other people, maybe in other parts of the world instead of each other, the balance has been slightly set too far the wrong way. But I think back to your original point about these big companies gobbling up the smaller ones. I think that's definitely a worry that I have in terms of competition, because then what Aral's talking about, there is less choice when there's less competition around, because there's fewer companies dominating the way we get our service. But the evidence that I see at the moment is that in terms of startup business, and this is the most entrepreneurial period that we've had in several decades. Silicon Roundabout in London, Silicon Valley in California, they're churning out new companies every single day at a massive rate. And there's all sorts of innovation taking place there. Is there a trend for these companies to be gobbled up by the big ones? Yes, but we're still getting the innovations coming through. You could even argue the fact that they're going to be bought out down the road is maybe some incentive for some of these business owners to start these businesses in the first place.
Okay, Aral, I can see you shaking your head again, but Jasper's point is that it's actually rather good. Ultimately, it's rather good for innovation. It's rather good for competition as well.
Well, I mean, I'd rather actually tackle the previous point when we said, well, we're connecting people to each other across the web, right? This is what Facebook says. Facebook says we're connecting you to each other, but they're lying to you. They're not connecting us to each other. They're connecting all of us to Facebook Incorporated. When I want to share a photo with my friend on Facebook, what I do is I send that photo to Facebook, which is a man in the middle, and then they store that photo, they analyze it, etc., keep it forever.
But your friend also
gets my profile.
Your friend also gets the picture, Aral.
Yes. and then my friend gets the picture. But we can build technology so that if I want to share my photo with my friend, I send it directly to my friend, peer-to-peer, no Facebook in the middle. This is called a decentralized system.
Okay, innovation from Aral there. Nishanth, I'm just wondering whether you have any concerns, should we say, about the dominance of the big five, of the Googles and the Facebooks.
Yes, I mean, yes, there are huge concerns because, of course, we are sharing data not just with each other, but with the big companies. And whereas my own data stream may not be so useful just for myself, the collective data streams that we all generate huge values for these companies, which is why we see such huge market share evaluations as well. But having said that, there have been, technologically, it's not infeasible to build these decentralized social networks. In fact, there have been several attempts to do that. And very interesting from the computer science point of view, from the technology point of view, but it seems like those technologies haven't really taken over. Part of the reason is because the way we build with the centralized social networks, it's much more reliable. So if I build something decentralized, it's very hard to make sure that when I come online, my friends are online. When I come online, there's a way to transfer the contents that I want to transfer to my friend, either through direct means or via some other friends of friends kind of solution. Whereas if there was a friend of a friend, if there's a middleman such as Facebook that keeps my data, and then I come online, post my content to Facebook, and then somebody else comes back who's my friend and wants to see my photos, they can see it directly. So this centralized approach seems to be the simpler way of doing things, which has somehow worked out. But I completely agree that if we can manage to find a more reliable, more efficient way of doing it decentralized, it should be possible. And also the simple fact of the matter is that if we were each to set up our own servers like Facebook, it shouldn't cost any huge amounts of money. So for instance, I could buy a domain name for a few dollars and then set up a server for a budget of, let's say, $100 or $200. I should be able to set up something that would serve my needs and my friends' needs, and there shouldn't be a need for relying on one single big, huge hypergiant. And so I hope we find such solutions.
Okay, Jasper, sorry, Jasper, you wanted to say something. Jasper?
I was just inspired by what I was hearing there, and I was thinking one decentralized example of technology that I come across in my day-to-day job in markets is Bitcoin. I suppose you can argue that's a decentralized system that really has taken hold. And I think I'll just go back to my original point. Bitcoin hit record highs very recently, very strong against the US dollar and other government-based, centrally planned currencies. So there's clearly some demand out there. And again, just going back to my original point, I think the way this all ends up depends on consumer behavior. So at the moment, what Facebook and Snap and these other companies are assuming the consumer behavior is going to be, that there's just an increasing acceptance that we're losing our privacy, and that doesn't matter. We can trust these companies, in order to get the services they're offering. Equally, consumer behavior could go completely the other direction in the favor of things like Bitcoin, but the kind of services that were being described there, in which case the venture capital money would follow the consumer behavior, and that's where the investment would take place, and they would be the next run of companies, and Facebook and Snap and the like would either have to adapt or fall by the wayside.
All right, and Aral, despite so many of your doubts surrounding the current practice of spending so much time online, perhaps knowingly or unknowingly giving away so much about ourselves, the onus upon the smaller company all the time is upon innovation and research and development, isn't it? Where do you think this is going to take us in the near future? Because we're certainly away from the linear form of receiving information, for instance, aren't we?
Well, yeah, definitely. And I have nothing against spending any amount of time online. It is about the character of these centralized services. And as the other two panelists were giving examples, Mastodon, for example, has just blown up. So let's talk about where I would love to see it go. Mastodon is a decentralized alternative to Twitter. It came out about 6 months ago. There are about 600,000 users on it. People, actually, I'm sorry. And there are thousands of instances. So everyone running their own little Twitter, their own Mastodon instance. instance. And this is the direction that I want to see it going. So I run my own Mastodon where I make the rules about what I can say, what I can't say, and I connect to all the other instances where there are lots of people on some and there was just one person on another. So where I want to see this going is for all of us to have our own space on the internet. And that's what all of our other smart devices, etc., all of these connect to. But we should own and control our own space on the internet. And by that, we will solve some of the problems that were mentioned earlier. You know, how do we find people? What about if you're not online? Well, these can be hosted by lots of different organizations if we have an interoperable system. If we build a network where lots of organizations can host this without locking us in via proprietary technologies. So I think this is the direction that I want to see it go, but more importantly, this is the direction things must go if we value things like democracy. Because with things like fake news, with the effect of this centralization in terms of affecting inequality, the things that we're starting to lose are democracy. You know, these are market failures. These are not things that are addressed by the market.
All right.
So a decentralized system is where I would like to see
it. Let's ask Nishanth then. How feasible is it that we all have our own individual online space?
Yes, I was saying economically it's very feasible. Technologically it's very feasible, but there have been previous attempts to do this. You might remember Diaspora, which was a decentralized social network which was started maybe around 2011-12 timeframe, and with exactly the same kind of idea that each of us would have our own nodes or pods, and we would connect with other pods that our friends would host. And it didn't seem to take off. And there are various non-technical issues such as reliability which might come in the way. So having said that, there are other research projects that are going on that are trying to keep our data to ourselves and sell the value of our data back to the companies rather than let the companies reap the entire benefit of our data. And so that could be a middle way forward, where instead of us basically enslaving ourselves to the companies by giving up our data and accessing the internet for free, perhaps we could actually take back ownership of our data and sell our data back. That could be another way.
All right, well, that sounds very interesting. Coming back to the here and the now, Jasper, what we're essentially talking about with regard to the big companies is a form of monopoly, isn't it? I'm just wondering what sort of regulation there is, because in various other aspects of life, there is quite clear legislation and regulation over companies and trading, monopolies and competition.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that there's certainly less regulation online in general, and also for these technology companies, that most of them are or aim to be multinational companies, so not really necessarily tied to any one country, with no particular allegiance, only to themselves and their shareholders. And so there probably should be some more regulation. But one thing I would counter that with is that in some industries where there tends to be a high concentration of large companies, is things like maybe utility provision, energy. That's just naturally a sound way of doing it because it's not efficient to have that many companies. There's a natural barrier to entry with that kind of system. I would argue online software, the kind of talents and the startup costs for those kind of businesses are just a lot lower than in other industries. And so people are able to start companies and compete with these large companies. So there shouldn't be as much restriction on their activity because that competition is open.
And Aral, final word to you, if you can be brief, please. I'm guessing that you wouldn't mind seeing the back of Snapchat.
Again, I mean, not any more than I would like to see the back of Facebook. Not that I don't think either of those is going to happen at this point, because as Nishanth was saying, I believe earlier, there are network effects, and I think Snap has network effects right now, and Facebook does. So it's very difficult to destroy a company at that point. The only people that could destroy it is themselves through some sort of mismanagement. But I would be very happy to see the back of centralized systems that make their money by tracking us, by violating our privacy, by violating our human rights, and I would like to see them replaced perhaps with technologies that are supported from the commons and for the common good, and so that we can have a future where, we safeguard our democracy. And I think that's really what's at stake here.
Thank you all very much indeed. Jasper Lawler, Aral, Balkan and Nishanth Sastry, thank you all very much indeed. And as ever, thank you for joining us and watching the programme. If you want to see it again, you can go online anytime you like, aljazeera.com. If you want more discussion, as I suspect you might, you can go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/AJ Inside Story. And there's always the Twitter sphere as well. Our handle is @AJ Inside Story. From me, Martine Dennis, and the whole team here in Doha. It's bye for now.